Hey, what's up you bloodthirsty horror fans? Welcome to CineMike. This episode I'm going to discuss Scream, the 1996 flick that redefined the slasher genre. Then I'll finish the episode off with listing my top 15 horror films to watch this Halloween. So, I wanted to review a horror movie in the spirit of Halloween, but I was struggling to pick the right one. In the end, Scream isn't necessarily my favorite horror movie of all time. However, it's an expertly done love letter to slasher movies. It manages to parodize these movies, but at the same time be scary and thrilling in its own right. The juggling of horror and humor is handled perfectly by horror movie legend Wes Craven. He's best known for creating a little horror franchise, you might have heard of it, A Nightmare on Elm Street. He's in top form here, and his familiarity with the genre makes him ideal for this.
Hello?
Hello?
The movie starts off with a very disturbing opening sequence in which the Ghostface killer, or killers, are stalking Drew Barrymore while she's alone in her house. They quiz her on horror movie trivia over the phone.
You like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
You never told me your name.
Why do you want to know my name?
I want to know who I'm looking at.
It goes from a playful game into a deadly one when the killer lays down the rule that she'll be brutally murdered if she answers incorrectly. This made all of us paranoid to answer the phone for a while. It did for answering phone calls what Alfred Hitchcock did for showers in Psycho. That's horror at its best, taking things that we take for granted and making them terrifying. The murder itself is really disturbing because her parents show up as it's happening, and she's gasping to scream to them, but she's unable to. For them to be so close, but at the same time just far enough to not hear her, gives me the chills. So we go from this really horrific opening, and then we're introduced to a group of really colorful and funny characters. All of them serve as archetypes for this genre. You have Neve Campbell as Sidney, the innocent heroine, or the virgin as some characters in the movie label her as. As is typical with the horror heroine, her innocence is shed near the end, and she grows into a tough ass-kicker. Neve Campbell? She's solid in this, and she earns becoming a Scream Queen, which is an honored title for actresses that are associated with classic horror movies. A previous holder of that title was Jamie Lee Curtis.
Do you like scary movies?
What's the point? They're all the same. Some stupid killer stalking some big-breasted girl who can't act, who's always running up the stairs, and she should be going out the front door. It's insulting.
You have Sidney's boyfriend Billy, who plays the alpha male card. The boyfriend are often suspects in these movies, but sometimes they prove their innocence by becoming a victim. Scream plays with those expectations by making you feel certain of his guilt at times, but then making you second guess it at other moments. So, they have a little fun with that trope. There's the bumbling deputy sheriff Dewey, who plays the part of the fool. Obviously, he serves as a source of humor, which made him one of the fan favorites. He's good-intentioned and wants to be a hero, but is usually more than one step behind everyone else. He's easily taken advantage of by people such as Gail, a reporter who plays the part of the Slough. She's the most clever of the characters, sometimes too clever for her own good. She believes that the ends justify the means when it comes to reporting news and feeding her career. She's a bit cold, selfish, and, well, kind of a bitch.
I'll send you a copy.
You also have Randy, the movie nerd. He represents the audience in his enthusiasm for horror movies, and he famously lays down the rules for how to survive a horror movie, going over a lot of cliches of the genre. He's also a great source for comedy because of his satirical commentary on everything.
There are certain rules that one must abide by in order to successfully survive a scary movie. Number one, you can never have sex. Never, ever, ever, under any circumstances, say, I'll be right back. Because you won't be back. Get another beer, you want one? Yeah, sure. I'll be right back.
Speaking of comedic relief, there's Matthew Lillard, who's also very funny as Stu. He's that obnoxious guy that you love to hate, or hate to love, depending how you look at it. He makes messed up comments and is really animated. And spoiler, he along with Billy turns out to be a killer. There's a scene that cracks me up every time, where Sidney is threatening to expose his murder spree over the phone with him, and the one thing that he's most concerned about...
Did you really call the police?
You bet your sorry ass I did.
My mom and dad are gonna be so mad.
Good stuff. Now, you could make the criticism that the unmasking of the villains in these movies can feel a little Scooby-Doo-ish, and then that their monologuing about their plan can feel a little James Bond villainish. But I feel like these cliches get the same pass as the rest in this movie. One of the fun things about the movie is how self-aware it is. Wes Craven knows what it is, and he has fun with that. The motivations for their murder spree is also interesting because it feels like a very real reaction to horror movie influence. As Billy said, Horror movies don't create psychos, they make psychos more creative. So on top of parodizing the horror slasher genre, the movie also serves as an intelligent commentary on movie violence and its potential influence. Scream spawned 3 sequels and a TV series. It's also a huge influence in every slasher film released since, so a pretty big legacy there. But none of this can compete with where it all started, with this movie. The series functions on many levels that makes it like candy to viewers. One of them being the mystery of who the killer or killers will turn out to be each time. They got slightly lazier and unrealistic as they went along.
Alright, you bastard, let's see who you really are. A monkey? Wes? I mean, Jesus, you guys aren't even trying anymore, are you?
One of the smartest parts of the original is how it comments on the cliches of the genre, but then its follow-ups become incredibly weighed down in those same cliches. The original Scream is one of those rare horror movies that stands out from the rest as being something special. It manages to be several things all at once. It's funny, it's dramatic, it's scary, it's relevant, and it's just plain fucking cool. Now onto my top 15 Halloween movies. Now, this was a very hard list to break down because I have much more than just 15 favorites. I tried to pick a little variety. I honestly love them all, so I won't be able to rank them in any particular order. Again, what makes the best scary movies are the ones that prey on our comforts. Things that we trust or take comfort in, and then making us fear them. So I try to take that into account when I thought about this list. So here it is, just to help those of you who are trying to decide what to binge this Halloween season. We have Scream, which I've already gone over.
Here's Johnny!
The Shining, Stanley Kubrick's classic adaptation of Stephen King's book that is really nothing like the book. But that's okay, because we get Jack Nicholson being an incredibly creepy madman.
I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna bash your brains.
Jaws. This is the movie that put Steven Spielberg on the map. Here's another one of those guys that makes movies that functions on several levels. It's incredibly fun to watch in places, but also horrifying in others. The movie promised that it would make you afraid to go into the water, and it definitely did just that.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Alien. Ridley Scott delivers a beautifully horrific science fiction horror movie here. Some movies in the old days are really dated with their monsters, but the xenomorph alien in this totally holds up as one of the most creepy monsters of all time. Just iconic visuals here. It's definitely one of those movies that makes you fear what's lurking in the dark. And it also gave us Sigourney Weaver's Ripley, possibly the best female badass in movie history. Poltergeist. I just love these 80s horror movies, what can I say? This one put a supernatural spin on child abduction as a spirit realm traps a little girl away from her family. The Silence of the Lambs. Excuse the terrible Anthony Hopkins impression, but few movies produce iconic horror movie monsters out of human characters. Hannibal Lecter isn't supernatural, but that's what makes him even more scary. Who knows if ghosts, aliens, and monsters are lurking in the shadows, but a cannibal and a psycho that likes to dress up in the skins of the girls he murders? Well, they could be your neighbors. An incredibly intelligent thriller that pairs Jodie Foster and Anthony Hopkins in some of the best interactions between two characters in cinema history.
Thank you, Clary. Thank you.
A Nightmare on Elm Street. We've all had those dreams of being stalked by something terrifying. Fortunately, we always get to wake up in the safety of our bed. Leave it to Wes Craven to attack that reassurance of it was just a dream. That's what the best horror does. Again, you can't escape Freddy Krueger because sooner or later, we all have to sleep, and he will be waiting for you there. Truly an inspired idea to prey on, and raises this one above a traditional slasher film. The Conjuring. It's often said they don't make them like they used to. Well, director James Wan does, as his horror films are often total throwbacks to the classics of the 70s and 80s. They're never CGI heavy, and, like the old days, uses the audience's own imagination against them. It's rare these days for a horror filmmaker to build suspense so effectively. The Sixth Sense. Who would have thought that M. Night Shyamalan could start off with such an expertly crafted dramatic thriller, considering his long line of crap since? This truly is a great film, with a heartbreaking performance by Haley Joel Osment as a child who's cursed with the ability to see dead people. I'd rank his role in this with some of the best performances out there.
I see dead people.
Also, that twist was just incredible at the time. It started that trend of every movie having a twist that we see these days, but at the time, no one saw it coming. The Cabin in the Woods. Like Scream, this is a love letter to horror movies, so it pulls on my nostalgia heartstrings. It too manages to be incredibly funny, and yet offers really inventive and scary twists to the genre. Dawn of the Dead. Night of the Living Dead is a classic, but I felt this one evolved the concept. I also really like the Trapped in the Mall setting. It's always interesting in zombie movies to see how the apocalypse affects each character's morality. It gets pretty twisted for some. Psycho. This was the godfather of slasher films, so it goes without saying that it makes the list. The shower murder is, I think, the most iconic one I can think of. Fright Night. This is a fun coming of age and trying to survive your vampire neighbor story. It's like Rear Window with a bloodsucker. Another great balance in humor and horror. An American Werewolf in London. Hands down, the best werewolf transformation scene you will ever see. It gives me chills to this day, especially the part where he reaches out towards the camera as he's changing. Halloween. It's hard to go wrong with John Carpenter. Without this movie, then who knows if we would have gotten the rest of the slasher films that we've enjoyed since, like Friday the 13th. So I think that about covers everything I wanted to talk about for this Halloween special. Click like if you enjoyed the episode. Feel free to comment below if you want to discuss Scream or the movies I listed. Do you agree or disagree with any of the comments I made? Please subscribe. And join me next time when I nerd out about something else. Until then, trick or treat and happy Halloween. This is Mike, signing off.